What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be featuring the new Gishki stuff that we'll be getting in Photon Hypernova. But before I begin, if you happen to enjoy content like this, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. To structure this video, I'll be doing 4 one-card combos before moving on with the rest of the combos, including some ideas that I took from the last Gishki video that I made some months ago, if you happen to watch that I felt I could incorporate in the vision I had for this deck. So the first of 4 new cards here, we have Aqua Mirror Focalization, and this one reads that you can add 1 Gishki monster from your deck to your hand. Then during the end phase, if you control a water ritual monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, set 1 Aqua Mirror spell trap from your deck or graveyard except Aqua Mirror Focalization, and you can only use this effect of Aqua Mirror Focalization once per turn. So one important thing to note here is that only the setting effect is a hard once per turn. You can search as many times as you want with this card, which is kind of nuts. And what we'll be doing is we'll be using the focalization to search another of new cards, which is how this turns into a pretty threatening 1-card combo, and this one is called Gishki Grim. If you ritual summon exactly 1 water ritual monster with a card effect that requires the use of monsters, this card can be used as the entire requirement. If this card is normal or special summon, you can special summon 1 Gishki monster from your deck except Gishki Grim. Also, you cannot declare attack for the rest of this turn except with ritual monsters. You can only use the effect of Gishki Grim once per turn. Gishki Grim also happens to be a level 2, so there's going to be a lot of stuff that we can do with this, as we're going to special the Gishki Abyss from the deck, which happens to be another searcher for Gishkis. And this gives it just a very strong core of 9 cards here that you can play with the Abyss, the Grim, and the Focalization all at 3. Your Gishki Vision and your Gishki Shadow are also searchers that you can play at 3, so it's a very consistent deck, as we're going to go into Spright Elf, bring back out our Gishki Abyss here so that we can get another search for the Shadow this time around, and now we'll use the Gishki Vision, which will allow us to search for the 3rd of 4 new cards. And this is the new ritual monster that we got. It reads, you can ritual summon this card with any Gishki ritual spell. If this card is ritual summoned, you can target 1 water monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summoned from the extra deck. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can return 1 Gishki ritual monster you control to the hand, and if you do, negate the activation, and if you do, shuffle that target into the deck. The way I see it, these 3 cards read exactly as they do. They change the entire direction of the deck, as you now have more consistency along with an extender in the form of a ritual monster. It just allows you to take a more modern approach with the deck. So from here I'm going to use the effect of Gishki Shadow to get ourselves a search. And we're going to get the photo mirror, and we're going to use this so that we can bring out our new ritual. And this will allow us to also get the body on board, which will get a Gishki Grim. And then we'll link away into IP Masquerena. We'll go to the end phase, use the focalization, and we'll get to search or set ourselves an Aqua Mirror Illusion. And this basically allows you to combo with your ritual monster, as when you negate an opponent's monster effect and shuffle it back into the deck, when it returns to the hand, you can use the illusion to special summon it back out and get yourself another negation, because it's not even a hard once per turn. This is just the most basic of combos. Now, for the second combo, I want to show how Princess acts as another 3 copies of focalization, though it is weak to hand traps and you don't get the set at the end phase. But for the pure version of the deck, this card is integral, as it does boost the consistency, as you're going to see we're also going to get the Grim off it, which will get us into our Gishki Abyss. And now we can take a similar line to what we did last time, except this time we're not going to. We're actually going to go into our Anemone this time, as we can use its effect reviving the Abyss, getting ourselves the search, and we're locking ourselves into water monsters as we do so. And we're going to use the Vision and the Shadow effects to get ourselves the new Gishki ritual along with the photo mirror so that we can bring it out, and then we can also get an extender through it. So from here we're going to have 2 level 2s on board with the Gishki ritual, and we're going to go into this deck's version of Heat Soul, which is kind of something I wanted to show. As with Focalization, this will also get you a set. But more importantly, it also gives you an extra line that can help you beat over things, or even protect you, as during your opponent's standby phase, you can just banish a water monster and raise its attack by 600, and then do the same thing again when the turn passes back to you. So the first 2 combos focused on the pure variant. Now I want to start getting into the different variants, and the first one I'm going to show off is the tier limit line. And what we're going to do here is start with the Focalization, much as we did before, and then we're going to get ourselves the Gishki Grim, and basically almost all of these combos, if not most, revolve around getting Gishki Grim some way, somehow, as we're going to go into our Spright Elf after summoning the Abyss and getting 2 level 2s on board, bring back the Abyss, we'll get searches like this for our Gishki Vision and Shadow, as we're now going to search for the Gust Kraken instead this time, and we're also going to search for a photo mirror. We're now going to use the photo mirror to special summon or ritual summon the Gishki Gust Kraken. Use Gust Kraken's effect, declaring 2 and looking at up to 2 random cards in our opponent's hand and returning 1 back to their deck, as we're now going to link away into Spright Sprind, and Sprind will send off Merly, and because Gust Kraken is an Aqua, we can now go into our Kit Kalos. Kit Kalos can then either search you something, or in this case we're going to send Havness, and then Havness can fuse away for our Rule Kalos. We'll then go into Gigantic Spright. Gigantic Spright can use its effect, bringing out Blue. Blue will then search out Jet. Jet will then be able to special summon itself. We can then search out our Spright Double Cross through the Spright Jet. And then from here we're going to go into our Herald of Pure Light, as we're going to use its effect in order to bring back our Gishki Vision to our hand. And then we're going to link away essentially 6 monsters to go into Spright Elf, as we're going to use the Gishki Vision's effect, as this goes to show that not only can you trim your deck, but you'll also be able to revive Gishki Grim on your opponent's turn via the Spright Elf, which will also get you into the Abyss, and that will net you another search in order to make this live for follow-up. Because we also have the zone open for Elf, we make the Double Cross live, and you still have 3 other cards in hand that you can use. So for the 4th combo, and this is the only nimble combo that I'll show, DBgrinder actually showed this combo some days ago on his channel. I'll leave the link down below because he has more nimble combos in his video, but I just didn't want to make a video based too much on a deck I wasn't going to play that type of way. And you'll see that as I get into the deck list later on in the videos after you see all the combos, because so far you've only seen the baby stuff. So to start this 4th combo, we're going to go with the Focalization. The Focalization can get us into the Grim. From here we can normal summon out the Grim. Grim will then be able to special summon out Abyss Shark, or the Gishki Abyss, and then from here we can go into our Spright Elf, basically follow the same sequence of the previous combos besides the Anemone one, but we'll now use our Gishki Vision and our Gishki Shadow to get us our ritual stuff, as we're now going to use the photo mirror in order to ritual summon the new Gishki ritual, and then we can use the effect to bring out the Grim, as we're now going to link away into Sprind. Sprind will then be able to send Angler to the graveyard, as we're going to use its effect, bringing out the 2 beavers, and from here we can go into the Mannequin Cat, go into our Gigantic Spright with the Elf and the Sprind, as we're going to bring out the Ibli, and then we can link away into the Spright Elf, summoning the Ibli to our opponent's board, which will trigger our Mannequin Cat, and then we can bring out our Spright Blue. Our Spright Blue can then get a search for Jet, as the Jet will then special summon itself. We can then get ourselves a Spright Smashers, or a Double Cross, or a Starter. And then we're going to go into our Herald of Pure Light, as we're going to use its effect, giving us back a card in hand and putting another one back, as we're going to link away into Masquerena now, setting the Smashers, still having multiple cards in hand, but we can also use the Focalization this time around, getting us the Illusion as well, which effectively gives us 2 monster negates. IP, the Spright Elf can bring back your Gishki Abyss for the search, or it can get you into your Spright engine, along with whatever else you have. So that was the last of the 1-card combo. As you see here, I have Aqua Spirit in this hand, and this is basically meant to show what you can do with Focalization plus any water extender, as we're going to start this hand by using the Focalization, and much like the previous combos, we're going to be doing a lot of the same thing by normal summoning our Grim, bringing out the Abyss. We can then use the Abyss to get us a search for the Vision. We can then link away into our Spright Elf, which will allow us to bring back our Abyss, use the Abyss to search out the Shadow, and now we can use the Shadow and the Vision in order to get us into our ritual stuff, as we're going to now summon the Aqua Spirit, link away into our Anemone, use the Photo Mirror, which will allow us to bring out the new Gishki ritual, as we're going to use its effect, allowing us to revive here, as we're going to now use the Anemone to bring us back our Gishki Abyss, and then the Gishki Abyss can use its effect, searching out another copy of Grim here, as we're then going to go into our Bubble Reef to give us yet another option that we can do with a similar combo that you saw to the IP one, but with an extra body in the Aqua Spirit, as we get the illusion off of the Focalization. Now I'm going to show Focalization plus a level 2, and I know that this video has had a ton of combos with Focalization, and it's because I want to feature it around the new cards that we're getting, and it kind of introduces you to the concept of the variants that the deck has as well. So to start this hand, we're going to use our Focalization, giving us our Grim to hand. Then we can normal summon the Grim, use its effect, which will allow us to special summon out the Abyss. Abyss can use its effect here, which will allow us to search Vision. We can then special summon the Red, link away into Spright Elf, bring back our Gishki Abyss here, as we're going to use its effect, allowing us to search the Shadow, and now we can use the Shadow and the Vision to get us our Photo Mirror and the new Gishki ritual, as we're now going to use the Photo Mirror, which will allow us to ritual summon the new Gishki ritual, and then we can use its effect, bringing us back our Grim. And now we're going to rank away into our Pure Light. Our Pure Light will then use its effect, which will get us back our Gishki Vision, as we put 1 card back to our deck as well. And then we're going to go into our Gigantic Spright with the Red and the Elf, as we're going to bring out the Blue, and then from here we can use the Blue effect, which will allow us to get the Jet. The Jet can then get ourselves the search of the starter, as you'll see this time, as we're going to link away into another copy of Elf, then link away into Masquerena, and set our copy of starter, as we're going to use the Focalization to get the illusion here, giving us another iteration of this end board, different means. So now I'll get onto a 3-card combo here, going back to the pure build, and I'll start this one by using the Focalization again, as we're now going to normal summon our Grim, use the Grim here to bring out the Abyss. The Abyss will net us a search here, as we're going to get another copy of Vision. We can then go into our Elf. The Elf can bring back the Abyss, as the Abyss is going to net us a search here. We're going to get a second copy of Shadow, and now we can use both Visions and both Shadows. As you see this time around, I'm going to get the Zeal. And that's because there's something cool that you can do here. A commenter pointed it out in my last video, and it was something I thought was worth showing here, as I'm now going to use the Shadow to bring us our Photo Mirror, and now we can use the Photo Mirror, which will bring out the Zeal Gigas, and then we can use the Zeal in order to draw 1 here, as we're now going to link away into our Anemone, use the Vision and the Shadow here, as we're going to search ourselves the new ritual along with the original Aqua Mirror, as we're now going to use the Anemone, bringing us back our Abyss in order to get another search. And now from here we can use the effect of the mirror using the Grim that we searched, because it can be used as an entire material. And we're going to bring out our ritual in order to get back our Zeal Gigas, which will also allow us to draw another card, essentially being a pot of greed for us, as we happen to draw into the final card that we'll be getting, Gishki Ice Mirror, and this card reads that this card can be used to ritual summon any Gishki ritual monster. You must also tribute one face-up monster your opponent controls, or monsters from your hand or field whose levels equal or exceed the ritual monster you ritual summon. And if you do, you lose life points equal to the original monster's attack. Kind of like the old Aqua Mirror, if this card is in the graveyard, you can target Gishki monster in your graveyard, place it on top of the deck, and if you do, you place this card on the bottom of the deck. To continue our combo here, we're going to go into our Bubble Reef for our end board, as we're going to use the mirror there to get back our Zeal Gigas and put back the mirror, essentially giving us follow-up for our opponent's turn. During the end phase, we also get the Focalization, which will give us 2 monster negations. We have more follow-up through the Spright Elf getting back the Gishki Grim, along with the draws from Bubble Reef, which help this deck be efficient with hand traps. Is kind of important to note. Now, for the next combo, I want to show what happens if you don't see any of your Gishki stuff, but still have your Diviner and Magna Hut. And I actually showed this combo in my Necros video. It's something that you can do in this deck as well, which is why I think it's worth showing, as we're going to use the Magna Hut, banishing the Herald here. Then from here you either have a rank 6, or you can go into a level 12, aka Final Sigma, if you want a Towers-like monster. And that's important to note. The Beatrice is used to send Keldo here, which can be graveyard interruption for your opponent's turn. Now we're going to go back to using a 2-card combo, except the second cute card that you may see here that you may not see on much other builds, because I know I've shown Aqua Spirit and now I'm showing White Mirror. This is a very interesting card in my opinion, as we're going to use the Focalization here. We're then going to normal summon our Gishki Grim, use its effect, bringing out our Gishki Abyss, and then from here we can use its effect to get us a search. From here we'll use the effect of Gishki Shadow, as we're going to search our mirror, then we can link away into our elf, use the mirror here, and the cute thing that I want to point out about it is that if you don't use the effect to search, you still get the effect of the Abyss, because it doesn't miss timing if you don't have anything else to do. So that was something interesting that I thought was worth showing here, as I'm going to use the Vision here, and then from here I'm going to use the Photo Mirror, bringing out our new Gishki Ritual, as we're now going to use its effect, bringing us out the Grim. We can then link away into Sprint. Sprint will then go and send our Herald, as we're now going to use the effect of Spright Elf, bringing back the Gishki Abyss, as we can now get ourselves another search, and then we'll go into our Gigantic Elf, or Gigantic Spright, and then we're going to use its effect, bringing out another copy of Abyss, as we're then going to search ourselves a Shadow, go into our Pure Light with the 2 Abyss, as we're going to get ourselves back the Gishki Grim, essentially giving us our Gishki Vision search, our Gishki Shadow search, and we even have the Tribute Fodder with the Grim. So we are locked under Gigantic Spright, so we can't use that this turn. So from here we're going to link away into our Spright Elf, and then we're going to pass on that as we use the Focalization to set ourselves the Illusion. Now back to the Spright version of the deck. This time I'm going to be starting with Gishki Grim or Focalization, whichever one, along with Spright Blue. And this time around, we're going to normal summon the Grim. We're going to use its effect, which will allow us to bring out the Abyss. The Abyss can then get us a search as we get our Vision. Again, it's a lot of the same stuff, and it's very consistent to get there as we special summon out the blue, get the Elf, get the red, go into Elf as we're going to use its effect, bring out our Abyss, and then we can use the effect of Abyss to net us our search here, as we're now going to use the Vision and the Shadow to get us into our Gishki Ritual stuff, as we're now going to use the Photo Mirror in order to bring out our level 10, as we're going to use the effect here to bring out our Grim, and now we have 4 level 2s, as we're going to use 2 of those to go into our Pure Light, bring back our Gishki Shadow, and then from here we can use Spright Elf along with the blue in order to go into Gigantic Spright, and this will allow us to get ourselves our Gishki Abyss. Abyss can then net ourselves a search as we get the Vision, and then we're going to go into our second copy of Spright Elf here, use the Vision and the Shadow because we can as we get the Aqua Mirror, along with the new Gishki Ritual, and then we're going to link away into Masquerena, giving us our standard end board. Now, for the penultimate combo, and this will continue sticking with the Spright stuff, and I think it's going to be 2 iterations of this, as I have Focalization here with the Spright Blue. And we're going to play this out is we're going to start by using the focalization. We can then add ourselves a copy of Grim. Grim will then allow us to use its effect after we summon it for the Abyss, as we're going to use the Abyss effect to search, get ourselves the vision. So again, same things as before. And we're going to use the Spright Elf here now, getting our Abyss. Abyss can then get us a search. We're going to use the vision and the shadow in order to get us our ritual stuff. And then from here, we're going to ritual summon our Gishki ritual, as we're going to use the effect here to revive the Grim. And then from here, we can rank away into our Pure Light, and this will allow us to get back our Gishki vision as we put back a card. And then we're going to finally special summon out the blue, as we're going to search out the Jet. The Jet can then use its effect, which will allow us to search our starter. And from here, we can go into our gigantic Spright, as we're going to use its effect. Bring ourselves out the Gishki Abyss, as we're going to use its effect to search, getting ourselves more follow-up, as now we're going to link away into Spright Elf, link away again into Masquerena, set the starter, get ourselves the illusion off the focalization, giving us our standard end board with more follow-up. Just more iterations of the previous combos, but again with different cards that allow you to do more things to build upon your boards. Now, for the final combo, this one actually won't have Gishki Grim or Gishki Abyss to start with, or focalization or any of that stuff. It's just Spright Blue and Gishki Vision that we have, and this is going to force us to normal summon out our Gishki Vision, as we're going to special summon out the blue, and then from here we can get out our Jet. Our Jet can then get ourselves a search as we get a copy of Spright Double Cross, and then from here we're going to go into our gigantic Spright. The Spright can then use its effect, bringing out the Grim, and now we just have our basic Gishki Spright combos as we bring out our Gishki Abyss, get ourselves a search as we get the shadow. We'll then go into our Pure Light, getting ourselves back the vision, and now we have ritual stuff access as we're going to link away into the Spright Elf. Keep in mind you can't use the ritual summon stuff because we are locked under the Elf, but we are going to use the Abyss here as we're going to get ourselves the Grim for the tribute fodder. We can then go into our Masquerena here, setting the double cross as we do have a free zone here, along with 2 extra cards in hand. So those were a lot of combos, and I want to start by showing the pure build. As I mentioned, through focalization, Grim, and Princess, there's 9 copies of 1-card starters. These are your 9 searchers, as well as your 12 going second cards. You don't necessarily have to play hand traps. I wanted to play hand traps in this build because of the Reef, because of the format, but with that being said, we do have this card coming out, can force things to change. These slots will definitely be interchangeable depending on what the format calls. 1-for-1 gets us into the Princess. The 2 extenders here, which I showed, 2 specific combos that made me feel they were worth running as one-ofs, as they do provide unique utility that the deck doesn't have without these cards, as far as through standalone cards that just allow the ability to have extra extenders. And you'll see that I actually am only running 2 rituals, which are just newest 1, and it's because I don't think we need to play any more than that. I think if you want to keep the build as consistent as possible, it's better to not buff your deck with dead cards when you already have 12 spaces for hand traps, the illusion, which can sometimes be bad to draw. You also have the 3 mirrors. These on their own can also equate to dead draws, which basically accounts for half your deck. I still don't think it deteriorates the consistency of the deck, as there is a lot of consistency cards in the deck. It's just about how flexible you want to be with your card choices, in my opinion. I'll go over the card by card here before I go onto the Gishki Spright list, and we have 2 copies of the new ritual, the 3 Princess, the 1-1-for-1, the 1 White Mirror, the 1 Aqua Spirit, 1 Druis Worm, the 1 Saranir, the 1 Baldrake, the 3 Magna Huts, the 3 Abyss, the 3 Gishki Grim, the 1 Herald, which is for the Sprint, which is something that you can maybe take out. It does involve a lot of space. As you see, these 3 spaces are technically dedicated to the Herald, and actually it's 4 because of the Entis. It does provide plays the deck doesn't have without it, which is also important to note, so that definitely requires more testing. You have the 3 focalization, the 3 visions, the 3 Skullmeisters, the 3 crows, 3 shadows, the 1 photo mirror, the one Aqua Mirror, the one Ice Mirror, and the one Illusion to round out the main deck. For the extra deck, we have the Appaloosa, the Bubble Reef, the Unicorn, 2 Spright Elf, Anemone, Mask, Sprind, Final Sigma, Herald, this Drudge, which can also be Beatrice for the Keldo, and have the number 4, the Gigantic Spright, and the Pure Light to round out the extra deck. Options, I know that there are Shark extenders that you can technically play. If you would like to do that, then Abyss Keeper becomes an option. I was trying to keep my deck kind of cookie cutter this video, as there's also the Area and the Dark. You do play a lot of dark hand traps. The Area is just a water link to Charmer, basically, but then we have the Cat Shark, which is another option along with the Mannequin Cat and the Ibli and stuff like that, but I just don't want to play the extra bricks, and if you do play Cat Shark, then you also have Zeus. And as we went over with earlier, Tasking is just a card to look out for, and maybe find a way to incorporate in this deck as the format goes on. For the Gishki Spright list, there are a lot of similarities in terms of which rituals we play. The ratios for the Gishkis are pretty much the same exact thing. Lowered the hand trap count in order to play our Spright stuff, which is important to note for this deck. Another thing that I would like to point out with the Spright variant of this deck is that this isn't a Spright build that can play D-Shifter sort of like Runic. Getting D-Shifted can kind of hurt too. I thought that was worth noting. And as you see, we also have a rank 10, which I didn't have in the pure build, and you could probably even put up there. It's just something that you can use for time. You do bring out 2 level 10s, but just think of it as an option rather than an actual pick. These decks will certainly change over time as more testing is done. To go with the card by card here, we're going to start with the 2 of the new ritual here. We then have the 3 Grim, the 3 Abyss, the 3 Vision, the 3 Shadow, the 3 Jet, the 3 Blue. We then have the 1 Illusion, the 3 Focalization, the 1 Druis Worm, Saronir, Baldrake, the 3 Magna Huts, the Photo Mirror, Aqua Mirror, Ice Mirror, the Red, the Carrot, the Smashers, the 3 Starters, and the Double Cross to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck, we have Appaloosa, Bubble Reef, Nightmare Unicorn, Area, the 2 Spright Elves, which is something that you saw in the pure build. I do think Spright Elf is very powerful at multiples in this deck, as we have the Anemone as well, the Masquerena, the Zeus, the Dread, the Drudge, the 2 Gigantic Sprites, and I think you played at 2 in the Spright build, seeing as you focus more on that stuff. We then have the 1 Jin Buster and the 1 Pure Light to round out the deck profile. As you see, these are the couple of last options that you have here with your nimble stuff. You want to play Sprint and make bigger boards and stuff like that, but it does require the bricks. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video, and if you made it this far, I thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. It's Bones, signing out.